We're live. Hi, Suki.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. It's VOD review time. We are doing League of Legends today, as is customary on Mondays. And we have Showy Cult back with a Jin VOD, which I am excited about. Okay, Showy Cult, where were we? Bronze 3 on the 30th? I feel like we have reviewed since then.
Um, we've done 2 reviews
Yeah, so I didn't
for
update
Showy
here.
Cults.
So I am going
Yeah.
to update Bronze 4 to 2023, and we're gonna miss that date for last week. So that's too bad. Sorry, I didn't keep the track from last week, but looks like we've gone down. Right? League is still one as high.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's different in Valorant. It's different in like
Yeah.
every game that I look at. So, yeah, we've gone down a little bit. So we're gonna pull up the tracker and take a look. Matches. I want to see what your play history looks like. Okay, little spotty, but at least fairly consistent. Got some days taken off, and then a lot of games played on the days that you are playing. So, first recommendation just with this, if you have the opportunity, instead of playing a huge number of games on some days and 0 games on others, if you can get that down to 1 to 2 ranked games, maybe 1 to 3 if you do have the time, that's going to be the recommendation. More consistent practice, not playing too much and kind of getting into autopilot would be better. And we have this. We got another Gen VOD. I'm going to try to find the game. Where are we? Jin, Blitz, Vex. Okay. Looks like a win. Great. And take a look here. Fairly solid game. Right about correct elo. Nobody at least wildly off. And you pop off. Awesome. Good. This is what we want to continue to happen. And we also, I think, between the last time we reviewed one of these games and now, marked improvement, right? That's good. It's only one game, right? So it's not a big sample size to take a look at, and it looks like your win rate on Jin is pretty rough. So hopefully we're going up from here. Okay, let me. Should we call 22023? And we're gonna get started. You can see everything fine, correct, Suki?
Yes, I can.
Great. Pre-game thoughts. Kog'Maw Nautilus is a pretty weird combo.
Yeah, both of these, neither of these combos are meta.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, what I always tell people is anywhere below diamond, or more honestly, anywhere below masters, you're never gonna lose a game because of the champion choice.
Right.
Um, it's just there are so many mistakes happening at those levels that are open to be taken advantage of that it really doesn't matter who or where you're playing them.
Okay.
So
Cool.
uh,
We don't need to go into it too hard then. I just figured I'd ask the question at the start, but
yep,
from here, I mean, we're not really looking at because usually, like, just for people, Kog'Maw usually gets an enchanter of some sort as their support, right? They
hmm
get huge benefit from like a Lulu, for example. Nautilus doesn't really do that. He's kind of all in, which Kog'Maw can do to some extent, but is much more of like a I'm gonna stand in
yeah,
the back of this team fight and shred everybody.
yeah.
Cool.
The,
Okay. We're gonna check out your buy, and then we're probably gonna skip ahead to lane here. Oh, we're looking at you. Oh, you recorded it off of your replay. Cool. Okay, that's fine.
hopefully, we pull up the items here.
Yeah, that is a hope. Do we have them later? No, we do not. Okay.
No, we
Oh,
don't.
we do eventually for a second.
Okay, that's pretty tough. I can look at the una momento. Let me look at the website.
Is this an invade? Is that what happened here? Yeah, pull up that website and see if you can find the starting buy. Yep, it's an invade.
This is the one comment I'd really make here. If you're going to be playing ranked, don't be anywhere near AFK at the start of the game.
Yep.
It is very, very, very pertinent that you are at your computer ready to play when the base gates drop at 15 seconds. It just like, especially to prevent moments like this. Or adversely, when you have a blitzcrank, they're gonna want to invade typically. So you should be at your PC ready to invade with your team.
Yep.
Walking back in here is really greedy. This is what we call coin flip. This is not going to facilitate you winning games in a consistent manner. Plays like this. When you're making plays in League of Legends, you want to make sure that you're making calculated plays that you think are bad or good, not plays that just realistically could go either way. Like just fighting to fight here is we call it coin flip because realistically, depending on if your team follows, if the enemy team's there, if they stack in a bush, where the vision is, like the variance in who wins this fight is highly dependent on like mechanics and just something going wrong or going right. And it's not something that you're ever going to be able to look back on and be like, oh man, I could have done this, or oh, if I analyzed this differently, or oh, these different things I could have looked at. There's just nothing there.
Yeah.
So
I've actually been kind of tracking this throughout a lot of games, which is just generally probability for engagements. So Valorant, for example, there is kind of this mindset that like you shouldn't really ever give a 50-50 fight, or you can take 50-50 fights kind of as you see appropriate. Meaning two people are shooting at each other, one of them is going to win. Neither of them really has any advantage. It's just a 50 fight. That changes pretty drastically depending on the scenario that you're in that game. So, for example, if you're down 2v5, the likelihood that you're going to win that game is probably pretty low. Let's call it like a 20%. They should get that win on a round almost every time if they're up numbers 5v2. So, the lower your actual win rate potential win rate is, the more likely it is that you want to take fights that are in your advantage, or even not necessarily in your advantage. So let's say that you have a 20% chance to win. You want to take a fight that's a 50-50 because the percentage that you win that fight's higher and will contribute to you potentially winning that whole round as a result. League of Legends is a little bit different when it comes to probability, and this, like, shall we call, just to give you some perspective, probably not stuff you need to be thinking about too hard. Right now, we're going to be focused a lot more specifically on just like lane stuff for the most part, I think. But in League of Legends, you can think about percentage wins for fights and engagements, or even plays. So, like, let's say, for example, you have the choice when you're coming back from base to either go bottom and farm a lane, or farm a wave, which is like, what, 150 gold, maybe 200? Or you can go try to take a 50-50 fight with somebody on another part of top lane, for example. The probability that you win that fight up top is 50-50, like we say. Let's say everybody's even. The probability that you just get 200 gold, which is not 300 gold, but still gold, bottom, safely, is like 100%. So, like, taking a higher probability fight, or taking higher probability engagements is going to benefit you overall in the long run most of the time.
Yeah. It's what I find, the reason I find it important to talk about is that it comes off as a very advanced topic, and it is at its extent. But the concept in terms of learning is actually very simple, which is you want to be acting with purpose so that you can look back, analyze, and critique what you were genuinely thinking. When you do stuff like randomly fight just because there's a fight, or, you know, take what I call these 50-50 engagements, you're not actually thinking through, analyzing, being present in the moment, and therefore there's a lot less for instance, myself to analyze because you weren't thinking. It's similar to like if I was teaching you math and I gave you a quiz, multiple choice, and you just randomly guessed all the answers. I can't come to you and be like, "Hey, what were you thinking on C?" You know, we've talked about this in class, et cetera, et cetera. Because you'd be like, "Oh, I just randomly picked one of the options. I didn't actually think."
Right.
So there's nothing to teach.
Yep.
Um,
So
so
just keep that in
that's
mind.
what we
Yeah.
want to avoid.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very basically, just like move with purpose, make decisions with purpose, try to take the higher percentage chance fights if you can, and fighting in the jungle early is, unless you have a very coordinated bronze 4 lobby, it's probably not a great idea.
Um, so I did find the build, so we can go over that real quick.
Oh, cool.
Doran's Blade is the right start here. That's good. I'm happy to see that you were actually thinking about what you should go here. Because they have Nautilus, which facilitates an all-in lane. Typically, like Tim said, if they went like an Enchanter with Kog'Maw, then the right start would probably be Longsword 3 pots. But because they went Nautilus, the HP is pretty vital to surviving all-ins. So Doran's Blade is better, in my opinion. However, your rune choice, um, you don't go. So Second Wind is similar to um, Second Wind is similar to Longsword 3 pot in that it is best against poke lanes and really low value against all-in lanes. Um, and Revitalize is just a really bad rune for ADCs. It used to be okay with Shield Bow. Now it's really not. And then of course you don't even end up going Shield Bow in this game. So here for runes, I probably would have gone probably conditioning Overgrowth, because you do need to be tanky to survive those all-ins. You don't need poke, sustain, or shield. And you would like to get boots early so you can't go inspiration this game. So just be thinking about not only does this rune seem good here or is this rune good here, but also think about is the rune good in general, because for instance, Revitalize just isn't good on ADCs in its current state. And Second Wind's just not doing much for you in this lane that facilitates anything. But other than that, Doran's Blade is the right choice, and it looks like you get boots early, which is great for the Nautilus lane. It's good to be thinking of like, do I need boots early in this lane? It's really good into things like Thresh or Xerath or Lux, just champions you need to move out of the way of early on. I do like the Gale Force here, and we'll see how the game goes. I don't think, looking at the scores, that you needed to go LDR second. LDR is typically into multiple tanks. Like if they had Malphite top and Sejuani jungle, I would say probably go LDR second. But if it's just a Malphite who's not even performing very well at the time of your second item, just go IE second because of the 40% spike. It's way, way, way better. It'll make you a lot stronger earlier. And then other than that, I think the RFC is good to keep you out of range of Kog'Maw and Veigar. Bloodthirster is just a bad item on Jhin. Lifesteal items typically get a lot higher value if you're able to attack more frequently. Jhin obviously attacks very slowly, so Bloodthirster is just a really bad item on him.
Yeah, I think what we should do, because we talk about items a lot with Showy Cult, I think that we are going to spend some time outside of stream and put together, maybe not specifically a Jin item guide, but maybe an ADC item guide, or find one or something like that we can have you take a look at to get a better understanding of like why to make those how to make those decisions when you are in pregame lobby, for example.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
demand runes
But
for that.
that's all I had to say about. Um, actually, for your rune stats, you should go 2 adaptive on Jin. Attack speed's really low value on Jin, especially at the lower values. So you should go double adaptive armor
Yep.
instead of attack speed adaptive. And that's all I have to say about runes. But I
All
figured I'd
right.
get it all out of the way because we won't be able to see it as the bot goes on.
Sure.
So here, there's no point in standing up and hitting the wave. You're opening yourself up to risk of dying, and they have the push on you. You can't do anything to prevent it, so you should just let the wave crash into you. And just catch it safely. Remember to optimize your damage like we talked about. You should go for the fourth shot and then grenade instead of grenading and then fourth shotting. Even though technically it's the execution damage is better. If you grenade first, the chance, like we saw there, of you not being in range to get four shot off makes it worse.
It's just a matter of being too far forward in this fight, right?
Yep.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
obviously Blitzcrank is looking for a fight and he does pull this Kog'Maw. You don't need to be way up here, right? You can be back fairly far.
yes. You don't need to be far up. There's a few mechanical errors here. Obviously missing the W, using your force shot on the aftershock Nautilus, and then being too far forward. Remember to be positioning yourself as the fight goes on. For instance, when your Blitzcrank hooks Kog'Maw, you should be hitting him, but as you hit him, you should be running away.
Yeah, are you, is it worth going through orb walking at the moment, do you think?
No.
Okay.
I think it's best to deliver it in concepts.
Sure.
And I think if we start talking about orb walking, people's, it's like, okay, yeah, I get Electric Kite. But more so talking on, in that situation, as you're hitting him, just try and be moving yourself away from him. If there's risk of dying or you need to be stepping away from a melee target, especially, you want to be creating space as you fight. I do like that you've obviously become a little more mindful of like using W to try and get CS as you're walking back the lane.
Yep. Nice.
Nice.
Almost
That was
had that
close.
last one.
That was close. It's definitely setting up better than you used to. So in situations like this, it's really important to be thinking of like, why am I doing what I'm doing and what should I be doing? This is what I mean by being purposeful and mindful. It's really, really easy. I even honestly find myself doing this pretty often, where you just come back to lane and you just start hitting minions for the sake of hitting them, because you're in lane, you may as well. You want to be thinking about like, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Am I stacking a wave to crash it on tower? Do I want prio? Where is it better for my champions to be in this lane?
It's back here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So to give
yeah.
you some perspective, show and call back. Like what Suki is getting at. Back here, obviously, you clear out the rest of the wave, which is good. And I think we're trying to focus on very specifically this wave here. So if we think about, like, you immediately just start clearing this wave, like Suki said. If we think about where we want these to be, these are going to be at parity right here. Meaning, all of these minions, if they are fighting each other, they're not going to move either way. Like eventually they'll slowly push out, but they're not going to move either way anytime
Mhm.
soon. So you can just hang out here, last hit minions, and now their team has to come to you. And it's important because they are an all-in lane. And if you instead push this wave and you start taking the fight kind of where you do, just kind of let this run for a little bit, they have a much longer area to chase you down. Whereas if you're hanging out back here and they all in you, you have your tower right here, right? You have the safety of this tower.
Yeah, and playing further back also allows you to do the same thing to them, right? If you're shoving in and your blitzcrank gets a hook, they just have to run a few steps back to their tower. Whereas if he gets a hook while you're where you are now, it's a lot harder for them to get away from you.
Yep.
Um,
That being
obviously,
said, so this kind of changes as time goes on. So right, so like back here when the waves were here and they were at parity, meaning
mm,
that there were minions on both sides, an equal amount of minions.
mm,
Just last hitting them would have been great because you're holding them here. Now that you have significantly more minions on this wave, it is best for you to just burn down all these minions and try to crash this wave into tower, specifically because if you don't, the next wave is going to probably be down in this area right here, and this is the danger zone for you because they can all in you
yeah,
and run you down. So it changes very quickly over time based on the waves that are happening. This one you wanted to fight at parity, only last hitting, not letting the wave move at all, and now that you have this double wave built up, you really want to burn them down and shove it into tower.
yeah. For me, I think the important thing here is the concept I would like to express here is try to be making decisions with your wave. Um, the context and the parameters of that decision right now are going to be pretty limited, especially at this rank. So don't worry about overcomplicating it or thinking about like, oh, but what if these minions or those minions or whatever. Right now, I think it's best to make decisions with your wave. Look at your wave whenever you're in lane and think, okay, what do I want? How do I think I can get there? And then if you end up being wrong about how you get there, that's how you learn. Um, I think that would be a very good focus because it does
Yep.
seem like you can just walk in and just start hitting the waves just because you're there. For instance, we saw it at level one where I said like you're alone, this wave's pushing into you, just let it crash and get the CS safely. But you felt the need to like hit the minions. You felt the need to do something. It's an okay ward. You should place it more to the center of the bush. And versus lanes like Nautilus, it's much better to go traps at level 3. I don't know if you ended up doing that. Um, that was good. I like that
Nice.
you placed your trap in combat. That was really,
Yep.
really good.
Now you get this as well. Should.
Yeah.
Oh, missed the W. It's all right.
I think if you haven't yet, Shoei Cult, what I talked about last time, you really, really should get into the habit of doing practice tool. Here, you should just burn flash pretty much immediately. He ends up giving you the kill, but if he didn't walk sideways, you would have had to flash there. So may as well just use it early. But like I said last time, really important to be accurate with your mouse clicks, to be accurate with your W's. So far this game, your accuracy has been and really, really poor. To be frank, um, especially on the W's, you're missing CC'd targets who just can't move, can't dodge. You're just whiffing entirely on them. Um, so really good to go into a practice tool, put down a training dummy, and just practice like not super fast W's, but clean, smooth, accurate W's on targets, and really make that a focus of training that mouse accuracy because in this lane, there have been a few fights that have gone specifically either entirely wrong or a lot worse because of the way you used your W.
Their mid lane has decided to, or their bot lane has decided to go mid. It looks. Oh, and they have a Vigar that's missing. Okay. AFK maybe.
I don't know. Did he die?
Might have just died.
Maybe he just died. This is pretty common where, like, yeah, he just died. I think he's in
Oh,
there.
okay. I saw the question mark and wasn't sure.
Yeah, pretty common to for players to fill the gap if they see someone hitting their tower mid and their mid laners just died or something. It's pretty common just to run mid.
Yeah.
But what I was saying before that fight broke out before, traps are really important for that reason exactly. Preventing Nautilus from being able to look for hook angles on you by using traps to block it is
Yep.
really good. There, you should be looking to W Nautilus when he steps on the trap, either to guarantee damage from the trap or to at least give your Blitzcrank a free hook. If you think about it, if you're able to get a W in this lane through a trap setup or any other method, it pretty much gives your Blitzcrank the ability to hook someone just for free because he can just hook a CC target, right?
You could push that. We ulted. Okay.
Here we should. So you end up hitting some good forward shots, some good R shots, so it ends up okay. Realistically, you can just keep walking at them there. There's nothing they can do to you. So you realistically can just kill them. We should save our force shot there. We know we have flash, and we know that the shield will fall off. So if you just wait, you can just kill him with force shot there. But because you use it on his shield, he ends up getting away. We should just get this plate and leave. Here, you don't have to walk all the way back to tower here to recall. You just killed their bot lane, so you can just recall.
Yeah, and even if their jungler comes down here, the 2v should be able to handle it, so.
Yeah, like if the jungler comes down to start your recall, it's whatever, because you just walk away from him, right? Because he doesn't have a bot lane to help with him. So there's been a lot of fighting in this lane. It is good that you haven't died. Maintaining low deaths, especially at this stage of learning, is really important. Just like we're talking about, maximizing win chance. Just don't die.
Yeah, I think you blitz one a little hard there. Good flash out.
Yeah. Don't get baited by your supports. If you are looking at your support and you think a fight is bad, commit. Don't let other people like peer pressure you, right? It's it doesn't matter if like Blitz goes for a play and you think it's a bad play, just don't go for it.
Yep, better job farming under tower. It's good.
Yep. I would say here we obviously it's a little bit advanced, but we want to make sure that the wave is hitting the tower. We don't want to let Nautilus like catch that wave, so we shouldn't just like push the wave and then walk away. We should make sure that the wave hits the tower.
Yep. That does kind of two things, right? Number one, it makes it more difficult for them to farm because they have to farm under tower, right? I mean, it's not extremely difficult, but it's more difficult than just out in the open. More importantly, like we said, this is kind of the danger zone. When you guys get up here, if they try to all in you, they have a very good line to run you down, and you have a long way to go to try to escape.
Yeah, and by not getting the crash, they have the potential to just hold it there. Yeah.
Yep. They don't, but they will as you rank up.
Yeah. So this kind of choice is why your CS numbers are tending to be very low. Um, there are certain timers where you're allowed to walk away from your wave. That wasn't one of them. It ends up okay because, like, this is what we would call a coin flip play. This isn't a play that's being made intelligently. This isn't a play that's being made with any sort of analytical thought. There's no, oh, I've shoved my wave and I can't do anything with it anymore, so I have a timer to move. Um, this is more of just a, oh, hey, there's a champion on my screen that it looks like might be killable. Let's go walk to it and fight. And then the enemy team just sort of mindlessly does the same thing and you end up winning. Um, this and this sort of needless walking around.
Yeah, it was like 20 seconds that you could have either helped with Dragon, right, or just hit back right here.
Yeah, you could have helped the dragon, you could have recalled, you could have gone bot to push your wave and then recalled. There's a lot you could have done here. But these kinds of decisions are why your CS numbers are really low, which is a big problem, right? Your CS this game, I think, was 5.8 per minute, which is very, very low. Like I said, the base standard should be 7 CS a minute. Realistically, if you're thinking about excuse me, if you're thinking about waves, if you're thinking about CS, if you're thinking about optimizing, your CS should never be below like 8 per minute. Um, Obviously, that's a growing trend. So at this rank, it's okay that it's 5.8, but we want it to be getting better, right? And that kind of decision where you're sort of needlessly walking around or walking away from your wave when you don't have a timer to walk away from your wave, um, things like that. It's pretty much the reason why your CS is bad. Your CS isn't bad because like, oh, you don't know how to CS in lane. Your CS is bad because you don't think about how to get
Because you're
CS.
not there. Yeah, let's. I'm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull back to kind of this decision point, just to kind of enunciate this point, right? I want you to see, Showy Colt, how many waves you actually lose by going and doing this, and seeing what the upside is for you, and you get a lot of kills here. So, like, all things considered, the gold difference might be kind of moot, but to give you some perspective on how much gold you're actually losing. Do you know off the top of your head, Suki, how much the wave actually is worth?
The wave at this point is probably worth around 100, but well, it depends. If it's a cannon wave, it's around like 170.
Okay.
If it's not a cannon wave, it's like 110. Um, it's
Okay.
important to remember that XP is also gold because you get stats from
Yep.
XP. So waves are actually more than that, but it's a little harder to calculate. Um,
Okay, so we start here. You miss this one wave because you're going mid. You're gonna go help them out. So that's 100 gold there.
right. So, for instance, what's important to realize here is that to you, it's like, but I get gold from this play, right? But if you think about like what I talked about, like there's no real way that you're guaranteeing that this fight's going to go well. For instance, if their bot lane comes up faster, if the enemy team just backs off and doesn't fight there, um,
You get
lots of
0
things
gold.
that could happen that
Yeah.
realistically just make this not a thing. Um, it's we don't want to do results based analysis, right? Like, oh, but I win the fight, so isn't it good? No, because if, for instance, like I said, if I'm a math teacher and you randomly give me the right answer, but you can't tell me how you got there, I'm not going to give you credit for it.
Yeah.
Um,
So just
it's
just to keep going down this line, like you said, we don't want the result of you getting kills here, taking away from how much you lose back here. So you lost a second wave there so far. So that's and it was a cannon wave, so 170 gold.
Yep.
Here's a third wave.
This is a huge wave bot lane right here. So like if you look at the map, you'll see that there's a wave stacking. We call this a stacking wave. What that means is that um, the remnants of the previous waves are combining with new waves. And when you have waves like that, they will push in the direction of the other wave. And essentially what that means is because you take so long to do anything here, there are like 3 waves stacked on your tower that are just going to hit your tower. Not only will they do damage to your tower, but you'll also miss all the gold, you'll miss all the XP, and they create pressure. When you have stacking waves, it means that the enemy bot lane doesn't have to worry about pushing the wave because their wave's going to do it on their own.
Yep. This is the 5th wave. And this is a cannon, if I understand appropriately. That cannons come every 3 waves, right?
I think it would be 4 waves. I don't think it's 5. I think it's 4.
Yeah?
Because that was about a 2-minute play, and they spawn every 30 seconds. So I think
Okay.
that was probably about 4 waves, but that is pretty bad.
Yeah, so to give you some perspective, those 4 waves is 470 gold. So, ignoring the fact that you went and got kills here, let's pretend that you went and you supported and nothing else happened, no kills were given, anything to that effect, you're down 470 gold and experience, so bonus gold on top of that, right? So I just want to show you those numbers and show you how that works, because, like, that is a significant amount of gold that you're giving up just by walking out of lane. What
And it's
your blitz can go, right? Like, your blitz could go help support them if they really needed that support there, and you could stay and farm these waves.
well, so it gets pretty complex.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go into it,
sure.
but what I would say is there's a lot of gold to be had on the map. Kills are very often the least important income. It's, for instance, if I'm the enemy bot lane here and you randomly walk up to the fight and I let you go to it, I'm gonna insta crash the wave, probably take 2 plates, recall, come back, and then if you die like this, where you miss all those waves, so I've crashed 4 waves on your tower, I've taken 2, maybe 3 plates, um, and then I've recalled for my item spike. I'm up a lot of gold.
Like 1,000 plus gold.
It's yeah, it's close. It's like 700 to 800 gold. Not factoring in XP value. So yeah, it's about 1,000 gold swing of stats and gold combined. And then I also have a better timer getting back to lane. And then if you walk in the lane and die like this, I am gonna push your tower and get another plate, maybe another 2 plates, plus crash 2 to 3 more waves on your tower, and you're down like 2k gold, and it's pretty much over. So that's how quickly gold can ramp up in these games, especially if you're playing against people that know how to take advantage of it.
And part of the reason why we talk about this so heavily is because, like, our goal is to get you to a place where you're playing against people who know how to take advantage of it. So if you start
Right.
playing in the way most optimal way for you now, you will be much more prepared when that time comes later.
Right. It's just important to be thinking about, what do I stand to gain? What do I stand to lose? Am I making a play for the right reasons? Am I making a play because I think it's good and I've thought through the pros and cons, and perhaps I've put myself in a position to be set up for this play? Or am I just making this play because something appeared on my screen and I'm reacting to it? For instance, that Kog'Maw shouldn't have hit that wave. He should have hit the tower on the previous wave and then recalled, and then he would be back buying items on a gold lead right now and walking back to lane. Um, and your wave would naturally be pushing out, and then they could just play on you in the long lane and kill you.
What is the keybind for having items up during replays? Is it O?
I think it's O.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind in the future, Showy Cult, if you're going to do replays off of in-game replays like this, just make sure you have items up all the time. That would be really helpful.
At this stage, he just has a Gale Force and a longsword.
Yep.
And Swifty boots, which is good. Swifties and Gale Force are good here. Like I said, we should be going IE instead of LDR second here. I think what you probably got trapped into is you died there and you felt like you had to buy something, so you bought a longsword, and then you felt like because you had a longsword in your inventory, you have to commit to buying an item that builds out of it. You don't. If it doesn't make sense for you to buy an item, just don't buy one. And if you have it in your inventory, it's fine to let it sit in your inventory. Don't feel like you have to like sunk cost commit to something.
Yep. Close.
So there, we want to make sure that we're focusing the same targets, optimizing our kill, right? You go for the Yi because he's low HP, but your Vex CC'd the Kog'Maw, so the R was guaranteed, and then you would have synergized your focus with your mid laner as well. And then you just kill the Kog'Maw instead of killing neither of them, right? So we want to be thinking about like, who is my team focusing? Who needs to be focused? What's the highest percent chance we get a kill? Obviously, value of those skills changes with like bounties and stuff like that, but typically we want to be optimizing the chance that we get a kill rather than just trying to hit a shot on a low HP target because they're low HP. Here, like if you've crashed a wave, it's fine to recall. It's you take a lot of time to sort of stand around and be like, I feel kind of useless, and then recall. Think about what you're doing. You want to be thinking purposefully about what you're doing with waves. If you're finding yourself in situations where your wave has done something and you're like, I feel weird. I don't really know what to do. I guess I'll recall. You're not thinking about your waves enough. You should be knowing what your wave is going to do because it's all calculated. It's all figured out. You can look at a wave and see what it's going to do. You can manipulate that wave and make it do things. If you have an amount of minions versus an amount of minions, it's literally always on paper going to do the same thing with small amounts of variance. So if you're finding yourself lost, you're not thinking about what you're doing with your wave. So this is another situation. You're walking away from a wave just for a kill. This isn't okay. You should hard push that wave and then move to dragon, especially because your team didn't even need you. Here, we're walking into melee with Yi. If he chose to focus you there, you might die. You probably do die if he chose to focus you there. You're the ADC. You're not like the front line. So it's not your job to facilitate catching the Yi. If he's an alpha strike on somebody, stand in your range. Stand at your range. Position well. If your team misses all their CC and he gets away, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You don't get to do anything about that. You're not playing the right role to be able to do anything about that. If you wanted to do something about that, don't play ADC. You should be standing to optimize your range, your positioning. If he ends up running away because of that, that's just how it goes. But all you're doing by trying to force it despite your role restriction is opening up a lot of random variance and random chance for just like dying for no reason.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, that's a full
So,
recall channel.
yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then you
and you
cancel your
stop it.
recall.
Okay.
Yeah,
You definitely should have recalled immediately once you killed that wave, and then use the gold that you just got after going and getting
fighting.
assists and kills and that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's potentially okay depending on how much gold you had. If you're like, oh, I want to stay for an item, like I almost have it.
Yep.
Obviously we can't see that because you don't have it up here. Um, but um,
Okay, you just purchased it, so I assume that you were waiting for that item.
well, yeah. I just
Yep.
can't know for sure if he had more than he needed.
Yeah.
Because if
Right.
he may have had 100 to 200 gold over what he needed already, and he stayed because he thought he needed to.
Yep.
But I can't see that here.
Okay. I think I'm gonna litmus test with you here. I think that we have identified pretty specific recommendations for Showy Colt moving into the next game without getting into, late game team fights and that sort of thing. Do you think that
Yeah.
it's worth us just, these are your notes for next week, implement this, and then once we see kind of this early game, wave control, lane control moving forward, then we start thinking about late game team fights and positioning and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it would I think there's a lot to work on in the lane phase
Yep.
that would benefit him. Like if he were to clean up this lane phase to an extent, it would definitely be a silver level player. He's just not giving himself the platform to succeed.
Yeah, so let's do that. Joey Colt, I know that you absolutely pop off this game. I think that you go 22-7. So I recognize that us not watching the rest of this isn't going to be the most fun, but we definitely have, like, we have identified, I think, the next thing for you. And you've come a long way already. Like, we are much more comfortable just looking at this and seeing what you're doing, and can tell that you're much more comfortable with the actual act of farming. Like, you're doing a much better of handling last hitting minions under tower, so you've come a long way there from kind of previous notes. But
Yeah, and there's a
now,
lot of effort being put into putting the notes into place, which is good. There's
yeah,
been obviously, like, I'm sure you've noticed a couple times, like people are stepping on your traps, so placing them is going well. There's a lot of fights that you've won just in these two games from placing traps underneath people's feet while you're fighting, like we talked about. So a lot of the things are being put into place, and that's really good. Um, you definitely seem a lot better and a lot more comfortable. It's just about working on these next steps, I think,
yep, okay.
which is great because we can kind of move into more conceptual, like, um, sort of brain progression rather than just like, hey, use your abilities in the right order.
Yep. So yeah, so micro has gotten much better. You've been placing control wards, which I noticed, which is good. Um, from this point forward, our number one recommendation, I'm going to put this in the notes. Practice tool skill shots is kind of like the micro that I think that you can probably focus on here. Um, so getting into the practice tool, like Suki said earlier, setting up a training dummy and just practicing your skill shots on them, just so you stop missing those W's. Um, and then from a macro standpoint, it's just, would you even consider that is wave management macro? I assume so,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and back wave management and back timing. So we will try, Tsugi will try, hopefully, to find a good video on wave management, so that, because we come with a lot of understanding of how waves work and how they push and where you should stand, but having probably some more specific info on how that works is probably going to be pretty relevant for you. So we'll try to get that into required reading. That way you understand how and why waves move and how to manipulate them. Um, and the importance of being in lane and kind of soaking that golden experience as much as possible. And that is going to help you so much more moving forward than whether or not you were too far forward in a team fight late game.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will one. Let me.
Oh, general. One other thing that I think the other resource we are going to get is runes and items.
Yeah. I
So
will also mention you need to be playing a lot more.
yeah.
I don't I think it might just be looking at normal games included on that website.
Oh, yep,
He only has 21 ranked games this season. Which is very low.
yep,
That's like zero point 0.1 games a day. So
yeah,
let's if you're gonna be so like obviously schedules are hard. But if you want to improve, it needs to be in solo queue. You're not going to improve from playing Earth or ARAMs or anything else. Um, so it very important. Try to play at least like you want to be averaging 1 to 2 games a day at least. That doesn't mean you have to play 1 to 2 games a day. Schedules can be hard, but it does mean like if there's a day where you miss, try to make up for that the next time you play like 2 or 3. Um, because having only 21 games this season or 22 games this season, you're not going to get better.
yep. And that is just a note in the VOD rules. So, for you to be submitting VODs, you have accepted and agreed to the fact that you need to be playing 1 to 2 ranked games a day. I understand if you have a couple of days that you can't make that happen. Totally, that has happened to me. I will pull up my Valorant tracker. Um,
Yeah, I would say like it's not that hard, even if you're busy. Like for instance, I myself am quite busy. Um, I play varsity. What I effort to varsity, I do this VOD review. I go to full time school, and I have a part time job. Um, and I still find time to play on average like 2 to 3 games of solo queue a day. Um, it's important if it's going to be a priority, which in order to see progression in League of Legends with any kind of consistency, you do have to make it somewhat of a priority. It is important to at least play 1 to 2 games a day. And like I said, like that doesn't mean you can't miss a day.
yeah,
It just means try to make up for it. So when you look at the 7 days, you can average it out to 1 to 2 games a day.
yeah. I play, frankly, more than that because this is part of my job. But
And
um,
I'm addicted.
but you can see the consistency, right? Like I went on vacation and I had to take 6 days off. I got sick and I had to take a couple days off, right? But otherwise, I'm playing games every single day to work on getting better, tracking what I'm doing, writing down notes, VOD reviewing myself, that sort of thing. That's what we want everybody to be doing as well, because that is how you're going to get better over
Yeah.
time.
And think about it, obviously you don't want to make it not fun, but if you think about it like studying, um, studying doesn't mean you have to sit down and read a textbook for 2 hours. Studying can be carrying around flashcards and just reading them for like doing a 10-minute quick flashcard session, right? League is the same way. You don't have to sit down and play 2 games on the day to make sure that you're practicing. It can be as simple as like, oh, I have 20 minutes before I have to be somewhere. Like someone's going to be late. They just told me. I guess I'll open up a practice tool and practice farming for 10 minutes. Like anything like that is going to help you progress. But alongside that, you want to be reaching for that 1 to 2 games a day.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, like I said, we have in the notes. We're going to want you to obviously play more, review a runes and item guide. This is the kind of thing that isn't necessarily going to take up a whole lot of brain space while you're in game. You can plan this out ahead of time and have a better knowledge of it ahead of time. Practice tools and skill shots, but more specifically, we're going to want you to focus very much on wave management and back timing. So now that you have the micro to really worry about clearing a wave efficiently, we want to make sure that you are understanding this stuff. So when you're going into your games over the course of this next week, pay very close attention to this. Think most specifically about where's the wave, how do I want to set it, when do I want to go back, that sort of thing. And hopefully that will lead to you having some good games and climbing out of this bronze 4 spot. All right. What do you want to do now, Suki? We could review my Oriana game. You could backseat me on a game if you wanted to, just so you can kind of like, I don't know, free association talk about League of Legends, right?
Honestly, up to you. I'm down for either.
Okay. Well, the Orivod, there's a very specific kind of thing that I wanted to talk about, so maybe we could do that real quick,
Yeah.
and we can go forward from there. So I'm just gonna pull that up real quick. I mostly bring it because I'm gonna be honest with you, have not played League of Legends in a regular or serious way in an extremely long time.
Yeah.
Um, but I ran into a Maokai mid, which was a nightmare. Especially, I was on Oriana, obviously. Burning down a Maokai mid over time is like impossible. Bursting a Maokai mid was extremely difficult. So just,
Yeah.
we've been talking a lot about ADC. I know that ADC is your focus, but
Hmm.
people running into, I don't necessarily, is Maokai mid meta right now?
No,
I know that
it's not.
Maokai is strong. Okay. Um, how to deal with kind of maybe off meta picks, or at least how to um, anchor your thinking as a maybe not squishier, but not like huge damage output into this very tanky, very sustainable pick.
Yeah. So
I'm just going to let you go. I don't think that
yeah.
there's any real need to pause here. You could just talk about kind of thinking about matchups like these, how to handle this stuff.
Right. So it's going to be very conceptual, and it's I guess the easy way to put it is understand what makes your champion strong and what you want to be doing, what you want to be accomplishing. For instance, as a base term, Oriana doesn't have to do anything in this lane. You outscale Maokai. You have better range than Maokai. You have better control about than Maokai. You're a better mid lane champion than Maokai, right? If this game goes to 25 minutes and you're 0-0-0 in this lane with no CS lead, you're not really upset. You haven't played to any advantage, but you're also just a better champion who scales better in mid lane with more control. So if you're even items with him moving into late game, then you're pretty content. Um, so it's important to realize like what are my parameters of winning. For instance, on Poppy top lane versus Jace, winning is being down 20 CS. If you're down 20 CS on Poppy top versus Jace until 20 minutes, you've actually played that lane perfectly. That's about as well as that can go, right?
Yep.
So it's important to realize like what your parameters are for like what can I expect from this matchup. Um, there, like obviously you go for the
I'm
two
pissed
CS,
about that
and
cannon.
that's about my note on that would be prioritize the
Yeah.
cannon. So you should use the ability on the cannon and the auto on the other one.
Mostly just want to
So
crash this, but yeah.
yeah, crashing this is good. Getting a recall here is good. I know there's an itemization issue in this game, which we'll talk about here briefly. You have oh
Cool.
you did the thing Sherry told
Maybe I made a bad decision.
Yeah. Here we should definitely recall there. That was perfect timing on a recall, actually. You would have gotten a tier and a control ward and
Yep.
would have been blessed. Um, Instead, this is perfect opportunity to get ganked by the jungler.
Yeah.
And you are struggling to get the wave in here.
I
So you're
definitely could
actually
have done
not
it
even
faster, yeah.
yeah, you're actually not going to get it in time,
Yep.
which means you still can't recall. And what this is going to mean is you're going to have about 750 gold to back on, and it's going to feel really bad.
Yeah, because I can't buy basically anything that I want.
Yeah, you're going to be able to buy the same thing you could buy before, except with boots.
Yep.
Which doesn't feel phenomenal versus Maokai, because if he wants to get on you, he's going to get on you, right?
Yep.
Did you just miss a second cannon?
I did miss a second cannon. I don't want
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Yeah. So obviously, not what we want to do. That is essentially 150 gold.
Yep, and I get it back with it right
And
there.
here, right, and here you have to back, and it's really bad. This wave is actually frozen.
Yep.
If you were playing against a good mid laner, or especially a mid laner that is ranged as well, this wave is frozen on you, and this situation, unironically, like versus a good team, this loses you the lane and like puts your team at a huge disadvantage for the game.
Right.
At the risk of exacerbation, that kind of play in a lane phase over the course of games, or especially versus players that will manipulate, this loses you games by 4 minutes.
Right.
it ends up
So,
being okay,
Showy Cult,
but
just a note, it's not just you.
it's like I always try and say, like, you know, when I do things too, because it's important to note that, like, League is not a solved game. You know, we're not moving on from the mistakes. It's very easy to make them in multiple situations. Um, yeah, but so it's important to realize, like, okay, what are my parameters for winning versus Maokai? What do I want to do? What do I need to do? The most simple thing we can acknowledge, right? Um, I don't need to kill him to
Yeah,
win.
probably not going to be able to either.
Right. I don't need to kill him to win, and it's a ranged versus melee matchup. That sounds very simple, but it's important to note that
I tried.
so there
I had a lot of
right.
minions, man.
Yeah. So it's important. So we want to be setting things up, right? It's the same thing as we're thinking about, what do I want to do to win right now, right? So for instance, we're thinking about, what can I do to be able to kill Maokai? If you had used the next wave or 20, 30 seconds or that crashing wave on tower to poke Maokai, and then the next time you crashed a wave gone for the all in, he would have died.
Yeah.
But because you full sent it when he was 100% HP, you hadn't set up a kill potential yet. You didn't set up threat. You hadn't planned ahead. You just saw an opportunity to eventually kill him and went for it. You end up not getting it, and now you've limited your ability to do it in the future, right?
Right.
Um, but the most simple thing to mention here is that you don't need to kill him to win, and it's a range versus melee matchup. What does that mean? It means you can poke him off CS. It means he has a lot harder time trading on you than you do on him. He has a lot harder time CSing than you do, and he's a lot more at risk of ganks than you are while he's CSing.
Yep. Oh, I tried to flash it. It didn't work.
He was good. You can just lead.
I know. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, you can. You can.
I'm just afraid of that thing. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the
Yeah.
radius was on it, and I was
So
like, I'll just stand here now.
so in League, it's important to remember that in League, a lot of things are coded as circles. Especially, obviously, a radius of something is coded as a circle. So if you're standing in a straight line away from the sapling and it's not targeting you, then walking in a straight line away from it will not let it target you, because the radius, as you create a diagonal, only gets shorter, not
Right.
longer. But yeah, so in this lane, what I would have done to win, not play for kills, protect myself from ganks, poke him off CS specifically, play to my range advantage, gather a CS lead, manipulate the wave, use the fact that I can manipulate the wave against him and he can't do anything about it, to move around the map and facilitate advantages for my team, and scale into the mid late game as a much stronger champion.
Yep.
Um,
Itemization for that. So, should I just be prioritizing tier super early and chilling?
uh,
Like, right?
so realistically, so obviously you don't play much League.
No, yeah, not in a while.
Archangels is incredibly strong right now,
Okay.
and very much so core on Oriana. I would build it every game,
Okay.
in its current state on Oriana specifically. Um, and not to mention that Seraph's also gives you a shield now when you get to low HP, similar to a Hex Drinker, but it blocks all kinds of damage rather than just magic.
Cool.
Walk up and get the cannon. Okay. So if we think about the kind of team you're playing against, right? They have an Evelyn jungle. They have a Maokai that wants to flash all in you. A shield that pops when you're low HP sounds really good.
Right.
So Ceres actually would have been amazing in this game, not just because it's good, um, but we have an awkward situation here where we could just be clearing this wave, um, right? Like, you could have just done that a second ago
Yeah.
while the waves were still even, and then you could have just moved to put a ward in a good spot. Um, Very often, it's a bait to place them in these side bushes like this.
Yeah. Especially against him. Like, if he goes to clear it, I can't really do much. I can poke
Right,
him a little bit, but
right. And you also open yourself up to dying by trying to contest it, right?
yep.
So what we want to be doing instead is placing wards in places where they're less likely to be cleared and more likely to see someone when you actually have time to do something. For instance, if you take a trade on Maokai, in lane, like the way you have been, um, Oh no, if only you had a tier. Um, um, the way you have been, if you're fighting him like that, and then you see Evelyn pop up on the control ward in your side bush, you're still dead.
Yeah,
You
right.
just get to see your death coming now.
Yeah,
Um,
just panic while I
so
die.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and it's difficult because it's a hard thing to conceptualize. It's a hard thing to package up neatly to say like, oh, just ward better, ward more purposefully, ward more, you know. But because people are like, okay, but like in this game specifically, how should I ward it? And it's like it is going to change. People aren't always going to be able to give you the answer. It's kind of something you have to test out and learn, study people's VODs, stuff like that.
Yep.
But think about, for instance, if you're playing against the Zac, think about like take a time at the beginning of the game to think about, okay, if Zac's going to gank my lane, where does he want to gank from? If I
Yeah.
was Zac, where would
I
I
want to
gank
be
from?
like, I want wards here. I want wards
Right.
down here.
Right, you're gonna think about like I want to ward in Raptor Pit, I want to ward over the mid lane wall, not in the bush, because like realistically that's where he's gonna stand. It's also important to note like, okay, can I find a ward that's gonna tell me when he's on a certain camp? Like, could I get wards on his Raptors so that I know like, oh, he's doing his Raptors now, he's near bot lane, I'll play towards my top side instead. Wards like that
Yep.
to facilitate. One of the biggest advanced concepts to learn in League is you don't have to see people to see them. If I use my Ash Hawkshot on the bot side of the map and I see that the Krugs and Raptors and Red are gone, but I don't see the enemy jungler, I know the enemy jungle is top lane, like with a 90% accuracy, right? Like technically they could be in the one or two bushes I didn't clear bot side for some reason, just like sitting.
Yep.
But I know they're probably clearing their top side right now instead. I don't have to see them to know that.
Okay. All right. Well, this goes on like this for a long time. It's basically me and
Yeah, yeah.
Maokai
It looks like
not dying.
from from the VOD, it just looks like just sort of sitting mid and doing not much, and
Yep.
that's a problem, right? Because like this is the true form of a coin flip. This is the true form of I didn't play to any advantage. I also didn't let them play to an advantage, but I didn't do anything, and therefore my four randomly generated teammates on my team sort of decided the outcome for me.
Yep.
So here, I think what happened from the way you've been talking about it, I think what happened here was we got really attached, similar to Shirley, to who we've been bothering recently, Shirley College, got really attached to the idea of kills, and didn't realize that playing League of Legends well is actually, to a lot of people, quite boring. It has very little to do with flashy kills or insane plays, very little to do with pop off crazy games. Um, a lot more to do with consistent macro, consistent planning, consistent thought. If you look at chess games and you think they're boring, you're not gonna like good League of Legends.
Yep.
So my tips for you, in terms of a general tip, would be prioritize cannons, and think about at the start of the game what are the interactions, like what does the enemy champion want versus what does my champion want, and how can I play to those strengths.
Yep.
For instance, like in this game, if we'd stopped thinking about kills and just thought about like what do I want this game, we'd see like, oh, I don't want to kill him, I just want to poke him and have a CS lead and
Yep.
scale. Like I'm range versus melee, I'll just play to my strength as a range champion. It's stuff like that that usually catches people off guard when they're thinking about getting better at League, because it's like, I already know that. I know fundamentals. I know. I don't want to hear it anymore, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
still something that people at the highest level forget.
I have been playing
Um,
League of Legends for like 12 years or something silly, right? I
yeah,
know these things, but I just
right,
haven't done it and need to rethink about it.
right. It's the hardest thing about League is that the fundamentals will bite you always. There are still times in League of Legends, sometimes in my competitive varsity matches, where I'm like, why didn't I think about this tiny thing that I learned when I was 12 years old when I first started playing this game?
Right.
They'll always pop back up. But yeah, my general tip would be prioritize cannons and think about what my champion wants versus what the enemy champ wants. Macro play. So wait, we have general, macro, micro, right?
Correct.
Yeah. For macro, I would say think about what you can be doing for your team. What can I be doing to facilitate an advantage somewhere?
Yep.
How can I access the map? And then micro, I would say,
I just have
um,
prioritized cannons as micro, especially
yeah,
on
that's
Ori,
okay.
because I'm like extremely comfortable with Ori micro. It's really a matter of like think
Yeah,
about what you're doing.
yeah. And then somewhere else in there, sort of the general thing would be uh, sort of plan ahead, facilitate engagements, right? Like I talked about, like if you had taken one of those ways, two of those ways to poke Maokai and then gone for that all in, you do actually kill Maokai in that game. There was actually an opening for you to kill Maokai, and you
Yep.
almost took advantage of it, but you missed it. And because you missed it the way you did, you took that as a, well, I just can't kill that guy.
Yeah. Right.
So it kind of ruined your whole vibe for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Um, so just plan ahead for like, how can I facilitate putting this person in a position where they're killable?
Right. Okay. Cool. Good.
Yeah.
I am gonna record a VOD and I'll put it in there. I've been doing this just for every game, like Rocket League, for example. I am horrendous at. So just taking, the recommendations that we're putting in for skill dev and applying them to my own gameplay, people can at least see that even a boomer like me can eventually climb, right? So I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that for League too. I might not be able to put in, 1 to 2 rank games every single day for League, but I will try to get some consistency here.
Yeah. And I will be I've talked to some people on the varsity team, so we will be getting some VODs from people hopefully on the varsity team soon. So if anyone watching is interested in seeing how the varsity players play, how the varsity players think about the game and sort of the advanced things we can get to on that level, we will probably be doing some VOD reviews for some varsity players pretty soon.
Yep. Yeah, and everybody hopefully will be able to recognize that no matter what level you're at, doing this, the recommendations that we make kind of through the rules, and also the VOD review and implementing and thinking about skills to improve is going to be helpful for everybody no matter what level they're at. So whether or not you're a bronze player or you're a masters player, you can benefit from this process.
Yeah. It's personally myself, um, my largest my largest growth as a player came from just talking to a very good coach once, um, and just sort of opening my mind to something new. Um, so as long as you're willing to open your mind to that new thing and put some things into practice and be mindful of them, you know, the LP growth is not intuitive. You know,
Yep.
sometimes you'll be like, oh my god, my brain just opened to this huge new concept, and I feel like I'm so much better at the game, and you'll gain like 20 LP. Over the course of a week. Other times you'll be like, okay, I just need to play more consistently and get my CS numbers up, and you'll climb 4 ranks. And they'll be like, why did that small thing help? It feels like it didn't. It's just how league is.
Yep.
Just be open to the improvement.
All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna go and do that. Thank you very much for joining me today, Suki. If you could, please try to find a rune and item guide, as well as a wave management and back timing guide that you can put your seal of approval on and drop into required reading. That would be very helpful for everybody as well.
Sure, I will look for it.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see you all tomorrow.